Oh, it might be where you come from. If where you come from casts a bright light on your new strokes that you made up. Oh, it might just wear you down if your love rubs up on the piss-ups and the give-ups. Always mix up with the good ones. What? Green lawns, rich sticks in Green Bay. Real high class, but my sweaty haze of summer. Sweet Jesus, don't eat all the money. I'm just seeing another speculation, playing shadows with our masters of the suburbs. We're the masters of the suburbs.
I mean, techno is punk. Everything's punk.
If you have a problem with people being obsessed with DIY, then it's going to be a long conversation.
Well, I don't have a problem with it.
You don't have a problem with it.
I don't like things being commodified too much. It's goofy.
It might just be people being inspired too, because everything is like so plastic for so long and so like mass consumed.
If somebody else is inspired, that's great.
I mean, this kind of segues because you teach at the drum school, Seattle Drum School, and you have been for a long time. And I was thinking, I don't know how long, and you don't have to say. It's not anybody's business.
You remember the Everett Massacre in 1892?
The Wobblies?
My dad watches this, he'll be like, no, it's not 1892. Yes, sorry. The Wobblies, IWW, International Workers of the World. But I won't even go there. We'll talk about that next time.
We can talk about that later. Yes. Our second podcast in 2020.
2017.
2017.
When the whole
next time around.
Yeah, well, we won't even be carbon-based by then, so don't worry about that.
Well, we'll be pieces. We'll see.
No way, pure light.
Look, we'll see.
I'm pretty sure it's all information.
Do you feel like... Do you feel that thing, like that push-pull with the kids when you have to learn music or teach music that you don't like? Do you feel like you try to steer them, or do you just let them take you?
Do you mean music, like if they bring a piece that I don't like, then play it,
they need to learn it because their band wants to play it or something, and so you really need to teach it to them, and you got like. I
just developed a really good sense of humor about it, you know, like. I'm just like, this is what I do. I mean, it's the same thing as like, I worked coffee forever. And somebody's like, orders like, you know, a latte with like, you know, 37 shots of Irish non-fat something and sugar-free Irish cream with a, you know, fucking...
half calf
this. And then they want like a cappuccino made out of rice milk, which is like impossible. And to a certain degree, you know, like, and you just do it because it's your job. So that's I don't love listening to some of the bands, but I do try to find something good in it. And I'm pretty positive with a lot of music. But yeah, there's some stuff that makes me cringe. Yeah. It's horrible.
Well, I mean, that's not really the meat of the questions about teaching anyways, but it's segueing because, I mean, that was the question. You did a good job of answering it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm also just wondering if you could tell people about teaching music and about like when did you start that? How did you get hooked up with the drum school?
Oh, that's a good, do you like
doing that?
Teaching? Oh, I love teaching. Sometimes I get burned out from teaching. And it's just an energy thing, like where I'll be teaching so much that I don't have the energy to work on music later, or I don't want to, and that's just not a good place to be. So I've sort of set up my schedule where I have a certain amount of teaching going on. I can dedicate that amount of my energy to it. And I think that's healthy too, because then I'm not always focused on myself. I'm not always focused on what do I need this next musical thing, and I allow myself to just give. I'd studied drums for a long time. I came from a music family. My mom taught in the house. So to me, that's just second nature. All my family, they're all teachers, like too many of them. It's almost obnoxious, you know, on both sides.
You teach piano there too, or you teach drums? You teach DJing too, right?
Yeah, DJing, like, you know, basic, like true school, like some DJs that are a killer would be like, yeah, what are you doing? But, you know, I can do basic beat juggling. I can scratch. I know, you know, I can mix stuff, whatever. Multitude of, you know, genres of stuff together, but it's pretty old school. It's just 2 turntables and a mixer, and sometimes I'll bring a CDJ, but I never jumped over into Serato, which has been a heck of a long time now with computers. Right. And most people would just think that was hilarious. But, you know, and I don't have a lot of DJ students right now, but I've taught a lot of people, and I just say, hey, you know, I'm going to teach you how to do this old school way with just 2 records. And you're going to have to figure out how to listen. You're going to have to figure out how to match the beats. And then I'm going to show you some scratches. And we're going to think of the scratches like we think of, you know, drum rudiments, because they're rhythms, they're phrases, it's the vocabulary. So if you know how to do a flare, you know, if you know how to do, let's just do baby scratch. Let's listen to Herbie Hancock do fick, fick, fresh, fick, 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 fresh, you know? Yeah. Like, but, and it sounds corny to a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is, you know, it's just like drum rudiments. Right. Like, that wouldn't exist without that. That wouldn't exist. So you got to learn some blues if you play the guitar. You have to learn. You don't have to. I mean, there's a lot of people who skip over stuff, but most people, like, you talk to like Ron Weinstein or whoever, they'll be like, you got to learn these. You don't have to learn those basic things, but it's helpful.
Lesson that I teach. So we've played a lot of music together, the 3 of us.
Yeah, it's true. This full disclosure. Where's the camera? I'm looking at the wrong door this whole time.
You know, we've known you as a drummer for a long time. After we did Sample together, we did Swamp Dweller for a lot of years, which is still kind of happening whenever we get together. And then I remember Focus North was sort of fading at that point, and then shortly after Sample, was that Cascadia 10 already?
I think I was playing with Michael Stegner for a couple of years.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I forget Fascination Nation.
Michael's a good friend of mine.
One of my favorite bands. God
Michael Stegner. Yeah.
Love that band.
Well, Michael and I started out as a duo.
Right. What was that project called?
It was just Michael Stegner and Andy Sells.
Okay.
But we played in this like bar that didn't even want to see us, and it was great. No, I'm serious. It was like a sports bar. It was part of like the whole like millennial takeover. No offense to any millennials, which my friends are, but like that sort of changing of Seattle, like about within the last 10 years, and you realize, oh shit, people don't want it. They have no interest in live music. They just don't care.
Right.
But a bunch of people do care. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, they care. But it's a different cultural thing that started to happen where you start to see like money come into town.
But did your sort of dark? Because I remember you talking about them as like premonitions.
I remember you being like, "I'm having apocalyptic dreams."
Oh, I'd have a lot of apocalyptic. Well, actually, I didn't even want to talk about that because I'm hopeful that none of that shit's at all.
Well, but little pieces of it do.
Of little pieces,
like,
yeah.
and so that can.
I think a lot of people. A lot of people could tell you that if they either access, some of the subconscious stuff.
We have a choice,
dreams.
anyways.
Well, so much art's come out in the past, like. What is that? 2012. Since then, it's like, they're feeling the same.
Everybody's
stuff.
seeing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's
But it's interesting, like that like tunnel or like stream like went through you, and you were picking up pieces of the storyline, and then it was things that were happening also to you. Maybe your mind was more open because of what you were going through like with the anxiety and the feelings of whatever you were particularly at, whether it was
like
any
up.
mania, whatever, like that you had that I mean, I think it obviously like was freaky and stressful also, but it seemed like it also gave you like a lot of like information and purpose, and that you like put it into yourself, like in like
right.
and out into other things. And I mean, obviously you and partner had like some pretty intense like life change things also.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I did take all the crazy experiences and put it into all the lyrics and the music and stuff like that. Most of them are just written based off of dreams. And they're not supposed to be, I want to leave it a little open. I don't want to describe every song and say what it is for me, because I've had an experience recently where friends have been like, oh man, this song is this, and like tell me all of it. And I'm like, cool, it is that, because I'd way rather it's that.
It's open-ended for people
It's kind of boring to hear exactly in my opinion, it's kind of boring to hear exactly what somebody intends. But the conversation, that's... overall, the reason it exists is because I went a little mad. Select level was because, I had to go down to the piano every day and sit and sing all kinds of weird voices, and it's almost like channeling or something, just letting it come through, because I was afraid to sing. I was afraid of my voice. I didn't like it. I felt vulnerable and stuff like that. I still do, but I've accepted a lot more. Right. I'm just like, well, that's just what you are. That's what it sounds like. And there's a lot of different sides of personality that get to come out. Like there's certain songs where I feel like a different person. I don't always feel like myself, you know? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel like this certain guy that had this one life and lived in this situation that's not my life, or this woman that was over here and had these things happen to her and these generations of things. I mean, I know that sounds kind of far out, but when I'm doing it, a lot of times I just totally shift in my head, so I close my eyes a lot.
Right.
I just try to get feelings across. Lyrics, I started writing, so I use those as sort of just sounds. But for me, the biggest thing is feeling, intention.
Right.
And that's probably because I've always stuck with the drums and things like that, rhythm, intention, just putting something out there and letting all the stuff that's happened to me out through that, instead of holding it in, because what was happening is that was killing me.
That was making you crazy.
Making me freaking nuts, and not that great. I mean, not a bad person, but just not a very dynamic person, not a very interesting person to hang out with, because I was so stuck and worried about what other people think, worried about what I think or my family, just all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So very freeing.
It changed.
It changed me, but also I almost died. So that was the next thing.
Also.
Yeah. This is so personal. Somebody's going to use this against me. Hopefully nobody sees this.
We'll start a government, co-owned, throw down in our own way. It's okay, slow down, it's your town. It's alright. Seen it on your screen.
of development, progress, creeping in. Can you find the door? Inner space available. Trademark. Leave the seeds alone. Tension overload my senses. Let's just stay at home. Senses overload tension. Let's just stay at home. Oh, that's another one. I had a dream about the algorithms like 5 or 6 years before anybody that was in any kind of public consciousness. Right. I had a terrifying dream that Google and Facebook were basically monitoring us. Right. You know, and this, duh, of course they are. Yeah. But at the time, it was years ago, and nobody was thinking about that. So, you know, it could have been my subconscious just like doing the work, which that's likely. That's a very rational explanation. But the dream was so real and so terrifying. I like got up out of bed and I was like, oh my God, we're totally screwed. Right. Like they are. And in that dream, it was very intense because they knew what we were capable of from birth to death. Like it was all algorithmic enslavement. Like they're just like, everybody's just being placed in these different areas because like, oh yeah, that's what you're going to do because that's what you're cut out to do. And that's what you're capable of doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We kind of know, we've kind of done the math and we understand like, yeah, this guy's probably going to stay about here. Well, you know, they look at me and be like, well, Andy Sells, you're not much of a threat. You know what? I'm not going to do anything.
Like,
I might give
Matrix,
a lot of,
basically.
Well, yeah, like I might be somewhat entertaining to like some kind of dystopian future, but you know what I'm saying.
I do exactly what you're saying.
Like it's freaky as all hell. So that was another one. I just had to put that in there because there's a bunch actually. Come to my cult meeting later. We'll talk about it.
Does select level mean something? Did the name come from something? It
was a cool sounding name. Okay. Well, more it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the lyrics and sounds and intention. I like the consonants. I like the way that it sat. I like the way that the two words looked together when I started to mess with graphics, which is something that I'm not that great at, but it's important to me.
Right.
Like, so for the record that's coming out, I got this awesome guy, Travis Ritter, who I really admire his art, his collage work.
Nice.
And so I'm like, he's going to do the graphics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. But the select level, I was on a walk, and I was coming down off some weird anxiety trips, and I just thought select, and then I thought of, I don't know, I think I saw it on like a truck or something, and then I thought of level, and I just put the two things together, but I think it sort of brings to mind like 1980s and video games and stuff. Mm-hmm. Wasn't the intention. To me, it was about, like many levels of existence and realities and stuff, like the stuff that was going on in my brain. I imagine that, okay, well, maybe we're in some kind of multi-layered universe, and every choice affects everything else. It's like some quantum
I like that.
silliness. I don't know. I don't.
Awesome.
I'm too ignorant to really know enough to speak on it.
But at any moment, we could choose, right? Like,
but yeah, and you could. I just have to say, I mean, I've seen some things online and stuff. It's like you could easily go into magical thinking with that, and I think that's a dangerous place to go because you might not. You might ignore other things that need to be taken care of because you're like, oh yeah, I can just think whatever I want.
He's very editing the magic, you know that? You're like very quick to like think everyone's gonna think it's crazy, or that you have to like say like no, okay. Like rationalize it.
No, this is a battle in my own brain. I mean, it's probably the part of the reason why I have a hard time sometimes is because I'm editing it, but this is just me being me. Like this is what happens all the time. Like I experience something I can't explain, and then I just fight tooth and nail to try to explain it.
Because part of you wants to believe that believing what you believe intrinsically feels like it's silly.
Sure, yeah.
Or like because you just want more information.
I want more information. I'm just skeptical. I'm super skeptical. I just can't.
I literally wrote that on my page.
So much bullshit. There's so much stuff, especially right now. I mean, if you think about it, maybe the reason things are the way they are right now is because, everybody's feeling a lot of stuff. Like, it's just, why is everybody fighting? Well, of course they're fighting because everything's coming up, are these archetypes and things like that. It's just like, there's a reason that president's there. There's a reason, it's like, because I don't like it.
But there's something about intention in the name, right?
And this like level name?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about levels of reality and information and stuff like that. That was a long, drawn-out explanation. I've changed a lot through this project. But, you know, it's also wrote a bunch of songs, and they've been marinating. But you know, we've been working on it with the band too. So the band is also
talk about the band.
Yeah, it's also part of it. I mean, it's a huge part of it. So I mean, I'm just sitting here, but you know, Noah's somewhere.
Who's in it? How'd you put it together?
So it was like a dream band. It was just like, how am I going to do the band that I want to do? Because I sidelined my own shit for a while.
Yeah.
I swear too much. Sorry, kids. I didn't listen to. They're like, oh yeah, you swear, all right.
Do you ever get those kids who are like, you can't say that? And I'm like, yes, I can.
That's awesome. No, I wouldn't reply like you.
About?
Yeah.
Tell me.
But what are we talking about? Oh yeah, the band. Yeah. So I just tried to put together something that was like, well, first of all, it's like really such a joy to have these musicians in the band, because they're my friends. We play music together in other projects. And I'm super grateful, because I didn't know if anybody would even like the songs. Not trying to be like, oh, self-deprecating. I just didn't know.
Right.
You know, I was like, really? Oh, okay, cool. So Noel and I have been talking for a long time.
Noel Brass Jr.
Yeah, Noel Brass Jr. is around here in AfroCop with us. And is a wonderful human being, and one of my very best friends. But we talked for a long time, and I would always talk to him kind of like I was talking to you. I was like, yeah, we got to I want to write pop music. You know, I want to do something like this. Let's do it. And he was always like, yeah, I'll be in your pop band. And I was like, really? Like, cool, all right. So we, you know, we sort of feed off each other, or we do feed off each other. And I go to his house and we listen to records and stuff like that. And, you know, he plays me a lot of stuff that I hadn't heard, like Tori and Maud. Right. I think. Oh no, you played on No Mortal Orchestra. Tame Impala, I'd never heard that band.
Big, musical.
He's a musical force.
What do you call it?
Maven.
Yeah, like reference. He points me to a lot of music I've never heard.
Oh
of.
yeah, he's a searcher, which I like. He's just like being the kid at the comic book store. You know, that's I was always that kid playing music for all the rest of the kids in the neighborhood. And so as I sort of get lazy or whatever, I'm not searching as much, although I do like a lot of dance music. Right. Like I like a lot of like techno and house and
you're a very scrutinizing, discerning music listener. You don't like everything, you know.
I don't like everything. No, there's a lot of stuff I can't stand, but
let's list them.
No.
We can come back around to that.
No, but there's some stuff I like out of Germany right now. There's a label called Gamma that I've liked for a long time that's really inspiring, that sort of mixes his mixed like techno and like funk and pop music and, you know, just all this stuff. And when we used to do Focus North, Josh and I used to listen to that label, and we're like, oh, this is kind of like the stuff we're into, you know, because they're mixing. And this guy who runs the label is like, he came from sort of the punk scene, but he was doing, and he plays jazz, you know, but he makes techno. And like, we're like, oh shit, that's like totally what we're into. So I followed that label for a while. They have a sub label, and they're probably like sick of me liking all their things online. You know, they're like, who's this guy? But they have a sub label called Toy Tonics that puts out some really cool jazzy house music. David Henke, I don't know how you say his last name in Germany, is another producer I've been working with playing drums. And he has a thing called Renegades of Jazz. And then he also, he sampled Noel and I, or he sampled us, he sampled AfroCop.
Oh, cool.
Actually, and so I reached out to him, and I've been playing drums. And there's a new project coming out with me playing drums. I think Noah's probably going to play some keyboard. And oh my gosh, it's the Something Orchestra, and I'm blanking out right now for some reason. But it's super good stuff, sort of like, reminds me of like early Ninja Tunes, sort of. It's like cool. Definitely DJ stuff. Right. But anyways, long story short, I've been digging a lot of the stuff. I've always liked, you know, European dance music. I mean, that's huge, right? That's like saying American jazz. But there's these like dance things that I've always liked, you know, this part of the genre.
So you know, listening to records, he said he would play your pop. No, it's okay. It's okay. We're good. So he said he'd play pop music with you. Yeah, that was the concept. Is you were like, I want to play.
Yeah. So we talked about it for a while. So I knew Noah was down. And then, you know, I had the tunes.
And you knew you wanted to be the keyboard. You wanted to play.
You wanted to be the drummer.
Sing. Oh, well, I mean, I was just writing the songs like that. Okay. So I was just in my basement with like an Elisa's drum machine, my Fender Rhodes, and some Juno 16, like these keyboards, and sitting there and just making stuff. So I wrote all the tunes pretty much just by myself with drum machines and keyboards, synthesizers, and programming. I sample little drum machines, and everything's kind of like old school sounds. Like it has the 707s and stuff. But yeah, I wrote it all. Say, hey, here's the chords, here's the lyrics, let's play this. But Noel, of course, brings like his Noel stuff to it and changes it and makes it really badass. He's like the Bernie Worrell to my Talking Heads. He's like,
right. It's a very lush.
I'm not that I'm that, but I'm just saying like maybe it's a comparison. And then Joel, I just met through Spencer Moody and some other people, sort of like more like the indie kind of like some
Joel
of the,
plays guitar.
Joel plays guitar and saxophone. So I met him at a gig that I played with Spencer a few years ago, and Joel was playing too with. It's convoluted, but Josh from Focus North's brother Seth was playing with Joel. So we met. Let's play music sometime. I invited Joel over, and he thought we were just going to improvise and make a bunch of noise, and I sort of tricked him. He says, and I was like, "Hey, I got all these songs. Play this. Play this.
Hey,
okay,
this is pop music."
Yeah, well, and now we're in like 2 bands together, so go figure. But
it's cool to have his sounds.
Yeah, Joel's like the edge, not the U2 edge. He's like the edginess, the edgy factor, and he's got the sax, and he's got all these other things. So Joel's in the band, writes some really cool parts. No, he's not. Sorry, Joel. He should have been here. He could have punched me right in the face. And then Jason Powell, I've been playing music with since Focus North because he was in that band too. So when we were playing like dancey, punky, housey shit, he was in that band playing percussion, and I played drums. And then he was also in Afrocop for a while. He was also in Cascadia 10 with me playing Afrobeat stuff. So Jason, and he also played with, he used to play in samples sometimes too. So Jason and I have been in bands together for like a long time, 15 years. Right. And then, wait, who else is in the band? Doug.
You had your student drumming with you for a while.
Oh, yeah, actually, this is true. When I first started the band, Dylan Maxwell was a student of mine since he was 13 or 14. And by the time he was about 22, he'd still been taking lessons with me, off and on. And I'd always joke with him, like I'd play like a New Order bass line or something years ago when he's a teenager, or some punk funk thing. And I'd be like, hey, you're going to join my band someday. He'd be like, yeah, that'd be cool, man, yeah. And so finally, when he was old enough, I started the band. I said, hey, I need somebody to play drums. You want to do it? So he did. And he's on The Race, which is going to come out on the record. He's playing drums. Even though I play drums on most of the songs, I thought it'd be really cool to have my old student play drums and just let go of that.
He was sounding great.
And he sounds killer. He's in Portland now. We miss him.
He had other things going on.
He's going back to school in Portland. He plays music down there, and he's doing awesome. But yeah, Dylan's a great guy, and it was so cool to like see him from like a 13-year-old kid who came into lessons like, hey, I like Pixies and Modest Mouse and whatever, to be like something else over time. And I would just like feed him music.
Kind of like Hippie Johnny.
Yeah, like your Hippie Johnny. Just play him stuff. And I was like, oh, have you ever heard of A Certain Ratio? Oh, have you heard of Liquid? Have you heard of, Bill Laswell? Like just all these like different things. And I'd play it for him. And then he'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, oh, have you heard, whatever. Goes on and on. Then he'd introduce me to stuff because I'm out of touch. But well, how can you not be at a certain point unless you're?
There's so much.
There's that too, and it's cultural, it's time, whatever.
So he had to move on.
He had to move on. So I got the best drummer in Seattle, Doug Port, to play drums. And you guys might know him.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and so that's been awesome because he's a freaking powerhouse. And I think Doug and I share a love for dance music.
Yeah, it's a very good
because he'd play with like, both of us would play with DJs. We'd play with like house music and techno and stuff back in the day. And so I think that we have an understanding enough to be like, okay, it's supposed to sound like dance music. You're not supposed to fuck off all over the top of this, like which I do. But it's supposed to be like, it's got to have a.
It's very cool.
A thing. It's got to be real.
Personally, because I've been playing with Doug since '95, and I think between you and him, certainly you're the two drummers I played the most with. So it's really cool to see you're both very different, but there's a lot of crossover. And like even watching the performance today, I was like, wow, it's really cool to have drummer-centric music performed by two people with really good rhythm.
I think it's pretty drummer-centric.
It's just got a force to it that's different.
It's not drum-centric, though.
No, drummer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because drummers are freaking weird.
Yeah.
But it feels good. Like, I mean, people
drummers-
move to that music.
drummers. Everybody I know that's a drummer is a little bit.
Yeah, it's not
You know
going
what
to
I
be a
mean?
surprise to anybody.
No,
who's
it doesn't
listening to
surprise.
this.
I think it's just the
everybody
energy
who's had
that you have.
experience.
The manic energy.
Yeah.
You have to get it out. So yeah, that's why I beat on the keyboard now. really bad breakdancer. You do not want that. That's only happens at the mountain anyways. You've seen it.
Yeah. That's pretty,
If we have bunk
So
beds
we had
together,
bunk beds
I know, we did
for
have bunk
years.
if we have bunk beds, yeah, yeah.
God.
I mean, I don't know. You know, it's fun. Thanks for having me on the show. I don't know. It's,
Is there just before you close it up for us?
I mean, I'm running this whole
Are there
damn
any
area.
are there any shows coming up that we need to tell people about? Like we're behind in release
that's
dates, so it doesn't
right.
have to be like this weekend. So you got a
Maybe
little bit
if
of
I
time.
declare the show's happening,
Right.
then Safeco Field will be like, yeah, totally. I guess you're playing.
It's on this
yeah,
podcast.
Yeah.
actually, that's a good point.
It's legal.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us what shows that you imagine are going to happen.
Ooh, I like
because
this.
that's kind of what I want to know. That's
Creative.
Kind of what I wanna know.
Let's set something up for Coachella. I'm just kidding. I don't even know what that's about. I just see lots of pictures of a lot of people with money and hanging
Yes,
out
people
with
have
like
money.
certain headbands and shit.
But you want to travel, play.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to take this show on the road. And I think we will. You know, I'd like to get some really cool collaborators on the remix side of things. I just want to get this record done, and then
I'll put
there's
the
a whole
phone number there.
bunch of
again.
new
Yep.
songs, play some
Got some
techno
good
jazz.
ideas?
And then Noel and I, well, all of us, we're doing so much music all the time. I think stuff is just going to keep coalescing into more and more. More and more. More projects, more ideas.
More
and
podcasts.
more family stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
A couple quick ones for me that I wanted to know.
Yeah.
People in town you like to see play.
I don't care about anybody
What's
here.
in Seattle that you
I'll see the.
Skepticism.
Well, it's a little bit.
Who
I mean,
does
it's
Andy
close to
listen
home.
to?
Suffering fuckheads.
Yeah.
Ron Weinstein.
Yeah.
My favorite. I mean, I play with
Liberal.
him. Mike Peterson, I play with him. But to me, like that's the spirit that I like.
Yeah.
It's like good musicians playing quality music, and they don't give a shit, and they're fucking it up. Like Skerrick's like that too.
Yeah.
I love Skerrick for that reason, and I think that he'd. I mean, I don't know. I can't put words in his mouth. He seems like that when I talk to him. Like he's accomplished. That guy knows his stuff. You know what I mean? But he likes like it's way more interesting to me to see a bunch of kids flailing around their instruments and screwing it up than to see something that's like straight out of music school that's like so perfect,
Right.
and it's like painful. It doesn't. It just. It
precious.
feels gross. It's like a perfectly pleated pantsuit, you know, and just like Devo hair.
You don't like it when they're
Devo's awesome.
dressing
If they played like
dapper?
Devo, I'm spitting. If they played like Devo, that would be dope. But they don't. They don't play like Devo. They play like Dave Matthews. It's fucked up.
Okay.
That's not a diss to Dave Matthews, by the way. I know he's a wonderful man. I have friends who know him, but I'm just saying that kind of music is like a certain thing. So I'm sure a lot of people don't like what the heck I'm
Kids,
up
when
to.
you get out of music school,
if
go
you
to the
take a
comic
bunch
book
of acid.
store.
Come talk to Andy.
No, listen to the Butthole
Put his phone
Surfers.
number up one more time.
No, listen to the Butthole Surfers and
Suffering
put
Fuckheads,
yourself in a
too.
time machine
Come out.
and go back to the late 80s when you're skateboarding around town and every normal kid throws stuff at your head and calls you names. And then
normies.
what's that?
The normies.
The normies? I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like I think the younger generation is really into being normal because that's weird. You know, because everybody is cool. Like moms and dads are so cool, you know. But like, so the kids are like, well, I'm going to be really earnest and really nice. Like I know some people like that. Oh yeah, we're just so earnest and nice, you know. And they have like this weird, really high mom pants and like.
Skepticism.
No, it's crazy. But I don't know. It's not my deal. But I like it. I think it's amazing.
I like being treated nice too. It's
Well,
nice.
no, I do too. I love being treated nice, but
I like the high mom
it's
pants.
bullshit though. It's like
Yeah.
fake sincerity, and there's a lot of that in this town.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a problem.
It's a hard changing town.
Yeah, nobody looks you in the freaking eye. Nobody wants to. If they don't know you, it's not okay to talk to you in public. I
was
mean,
on the
but I'm not trying to be negative. It's just that's a fact.
Are you
It's hilarious, actually.
Are you hopeful that some of your premonitions are?
Can we burn this down, please?
Are you hopeful that we're going to survive the visions?
I don't even want to talk about some of the visions because they're so gnarly. You know, if I start my cult or if I like have my 1-800 number that you guys can call, then you know maybe we
Wait,
can talk
have
about
to be
it.
on that side of the 1-800 number.
Well, you guys
You
don't have
sure?
to. I'm talking about the audience.
Yeah, guys.
For a small Patreon
It's
fee.
Cleo or something. But,
You can join the cult.
no, I mean, dude, I've had some really weird ones, but I don't believe every single thing that happens in my subconscious is real. There's
are you
a lot
a
of underground
hopeful
stuff
person?
though.
I think
Am I
that's
hopeful?
his point, not about the
No,
literal.
I'm not hopeful.
Okay.
I'm hopeful in the way that my attitude is hopeful. I have this idea of just keep trying because there's no other choice. I mean, it depends what you're referring to exactly. Like, I think generally, just face to face, I'm a positive, hopeful person.
Yes.
Now, if you're talking about bigger issues like the fate of the human race, no, not hopeful at all.
Okay.
No, I think that people are going to come through.
What's that?
Concur.
No, I think that people will come through with amazing things. We're going to surprise ourselves with how we can raise up and do good things, and maybe that will sort of carry through. I mean, dude, the numbers are there, and it's been apparent for a long time. It's I'm not buying into some anything. It's just there. It's there. I think it is.
I'm
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a fool. I'm a liberal fool, and I just have no idea that maybe the environment is actually okay, and maybe there's not a problem with overpopulation. Maybe there's. But I mean, what the interesting? Okay, so premonitions and all that stuff. I've had a lot of dreams about the future. Everything's hotter, stuff like that. But I have these visions of outdoor sort of markets and trading
Oh no.
No, just a society. But no, it sounds kind of freaky. But a society that shares.
Is there a Thunderdome?
One man enter. No,
Barter Town.
There's not completely barter. Just I'm there and it seems okay, but there's just way more people and it's hotter. There's some wacky weather stuff. Wow. I just have this sense of that community, at least I don't know if it's true, but this is the dreams and visions. Community is more important again because you have no choice.
Right
Right now this is coming out of this I guess post World War II period of wealth sort of right, and then our parents were boomers and stuff, and they came up in a world that was different than their parents, and ours was just pretty fucking awesome. And now the younger people are hey, we're screwed,
right,
and we're just right there, we're oh shucks, a lot of our life was awesome, but now we're getting older and we're oh boy, are these kids gonna eat us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that what we're gonna be? Soylent Green?
They're gonna eat the children.
You're right, because we wouldn't taste very good.
No,
our toxin level's way too high.
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff might be ameliorated with the magical thinking.
Yeah.
And there's some technology, some magical thinking, some skepticism.
Or we could just be completely enslaved by algorithms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning that
But
direction.
would they be interested? Actually, no. It doesn't matter to they. There's no they. There's opportunists. There's
Careful.
people who want to make money. Oh, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to just that's the person behind it. There's a lot of really horrible stuff that humans over and over again seem to be capable. But they're capable of completely amazing, beautiful things. You just got to be let's look at both.
When you get out of music school and you want to join a band,
Yeah.
and you want to express yourself, spend a couple years listening to Andy's recommendations, meditate on the future of the Thunderdome world, rewatch the most recent Mad Max.
Don't trust the algorithms.
Don't trust. Well, you have to.
Don't sign up for whatever is the latest thing. And
That's impossible.
I don't.
That's
know.
like saying don't buy those awesome jeans when you're
I don't
12.
know. Some people walk around with masks on all the time. All the time.
Oh, they do?
Some people do it all the time
Oh,
already.
you mean so they can't get the facial recognition?
Some people are wearing Google glasses still. Okay?
Oh, that's true. I have
So,
someone right now.
Some people are wearing SARS masks.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
I mean, we've got it really
there's a lot
good.
of ways to do it. I think
We live in America.
we
In the 21st century, for fuck's sake.
2017.
I shouldn't
we
be
don't
alive.
know.
Like I was saying earlier, I was science saved my ass. I was in incubator for 2 weeks.
Yes, that's right. That's for the next podcast. Also, I suppose.
So I say up with science.
Up with science.
Down with science.
Up with science.
Up with science.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming over.
I love you.
having
Love you
this
guys.
crazy
Thanks for letting me,
conversation. Love you too.
Embarrass myself online again.
Now we're gonna punch you in the face.
No, punch me in the gut.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank